I guess Palsteron here. And today let's talk about the 3 new unique stuff have been revealed, as well as 15 divination cards. I think those are now all revealed. And let's just say those are spicier than I thought they would be. But number 1, let's start with Vaal Caress. Now this one's actually pretty interesting. So basically what changed is instead of +2 level of socketed Vaal gems, it now is +5, but it also has a downside of -5 to level of socketed non-Vaal gems. On top of that, you now gain 20-second onslaught after using a Vaal skill, which is pretty damn huge because oftentimes you could not keep up the onslaught. Now, there's a few things to note here. Number 1, not only the Vaal version of whatever gem you have gets +5. Now, what does that mean? So you have +5 to level of socketed Vaal gems here. But as most of you will know, if you have a Vaal gem, you also have the normal version in that gem. And that also gets the +5. So you don't actually have to care about the Vaal version at all. For example, if I want +5 to Flame Blast, all I have to do is throw in a Vaal Flame Blast, never ever care about the Vaal Flame Blast, and I still get +5. For a spell skill, +5 is a lot more damage, around about 50 to 60% more damage, so this is actually quite a big deal. But the -5 to level socketed non-Vaal gems basically does not mean the normal version. It means, for example, support gems, which is a steep downside for builds that use stuff like, I don't know, awakened cold damage, awakened lightning damage, stuff that you really want to get to level 5, all those awakened gems, but usually it's actually not that big of a deal. So overall, Vaal Caress is just incredibly strong. And I'm saying that also because you can get corruptions on this. These are low-level gloves, so they're most likely going to be incredibly easy to get. You could just double corrupt them as much as you want, get like a +4. Now, will this be as good as Shaper gloves with like, I don't know, 9 links or whatever? Probably not, but in the end, this will be a very realistic option for most people. At least if you happen to want a second 6-link setup or pseudo 6-link setup. Now, last one here, which I think this is going to be used the most, is for leveling. These are just completely nuts, just getting onslaught on every single build. Some builds can't really get onslaught. For example, if you're Armageddon brand, it's easy. You just slap on onslaught, it's always up. But some builds just can't. For example, Ballista build or Minion build sometimes have a problem. With this, you just slap on a Vaal haste and you have onslaught for 20 seconds, which is absolutely huge. Overall, I think this unique will definitely be used. I think it will be double corrupted. It might even be in some endgame version, although if you go up and up in Exalts at some point, it will probably be replaced by Shaper Gloves. And we have Victario's Flag. I'm going to make this one short. I don't think this really has that many use cases. I guess the only thing that I would say is that some people miss this. This doesn't just give your nearby allies movement speed from the Quicksilver Flask. It also gives it other effects. Like, for example, if you have attack speed on there, you can give your minion a little bit of attack speed. Overall, it's a very low-level unique, I get it. I just can't really see a use case. And then we have the newest entry, which is Bronn's Lithe. A lot of people have been messaging me about this because they know I made Shield Charge Ignite, I made Lightning Warper, so let's talk about it. So I'm honestly really hyped about this chest, but there are some problems with it. Basically, the +2 level of socketed movement gems went up to +5, which is a big deal. Attack speed stayed. Now, the damage with movement skills went up. This went up to 50, and now it's most likely going to go up to 100. But we also lost the attack and cast speed if you used a movement skill recently, which is a pretty big deal. I would say these two basically even each other out. You got 50% extra damage here, but you lost the attack and cast speed. But in the end, you still get +3 level of socketed movement gems. So if you're playing Lightning Warp, for example, and you get a +4 corruption, let's say +2 to AoE gems and +2 to duration gems, you can get a Lightning Warp from level 21 to level 30. Pair that with the 100% increased damage, and you can probably more than double the damage of that skill. The only problem is that that build really wants Impulsa for the explosions. But to be honest, if we're talking about this kind of damage increase, maybe there's actually a place for it. The problem in Shield Charge is that the gem actually doesn't scale that well with levels anymore. So there used to be a thing where Shield Charge would get bigger and bigger added physical damage per 15 armor or evasion. That is the big one. The base damage doesn't really matter. And as you can see here, if I go from 20 to 21 in our body armor, I go from 5 to 7 to 6 to 8. But the problem is you can't really get to 7 to 9 anymore, simply because if you put this here, right, you give it +5, nothing really happens. You get a tiny bit of base damage. It just doesn't really matter. As you can see here, even on level 30, nothing happens. Also, Shield Charge Ignite already gets a lot of increased damage, so it's not that good. We would have rather have the attack speed to let it be a little bit smoother. So overall, Bronze Life, not that great for Shield Charge Ignite, but might be something to look into for Lightning Warp. This just is also interesting for off-meta builds like Flame Dash Ignite or Frost Blink Ignite. There's some weird builds out there. People just love having their movement skills deal damage because it means they can just like go off, zoom through a map. So I would definitely take a look at this one. We might see this in 1 or 2 meme builds. Now let's dive into all the divination cards that have just been posted. Number 1, Broken Truce. This gives you a cold iron point. This might be huge for League Start depending on where this is on the Atlas. All those trapper builds or just fizz builds in general, a lot of poison builds would really want these, and they're usually quite expensive. So if this is a somehow achievable card, or even if you're not farming for it, right, and you're just randomly dropping it, and it's maybe like 10 to 20 chaos, I mean, I would not say no. We already saw this one. This gives you a regrading lens, which basically just means you don't have to heist, but overall, not really that hype. Maloney's Mechanism, nothing really interesting. We have a Squire card, which depending on how rare it is, might actually bring the price down a lot, which I'm always happy with. A lot of Squire builds are more meme focused. Now, Strangle Grasp is very interesting, but right now kind of weak because of how strong the amulet slot is. So we gotta see. Pretty uninteresting. Maybe like Awaken or Orb Fodder. Very uninteresting. I don't know what a punishing map is. Maven item. 2 Implicit Corrupted, sure. But here's the big boy, Mageblood Double Corrupted. Now, I absolutely love this card. This will be a catastrophe. 2 Implicit Corrupted Mageblood. That means there's going to be so many 2 or 3 Flask Magebloods on the market, unless there maybe is a way to divine corrupted items, but most likely not. I can already see the clips that are going to come out of this. Otherwise, it will be interesting to see in terms of price for this card, who will actually go for it. It seems way too risky, especially early in the league. Maybe the cards will be a lot less expensive and you actually want to gamble for it. This is definitely a very interesting one. We gotta have to see. Shield Chipper item, cool artwork, I guess. Exceptional gem. A lot of these really depend on where they drop, like how rare they are, how common they are. This is, I guess, a funny inside joke. I'm not really sure. Nebulous, sure. A fully revealed blueprint. Like I said, some of these we can point out, but most of the other ones are just going to depend where they drop. I think the number 1 thing for League Start will be Broken Truce for a lot of builds, and then Squire and Mageblood cards might actually push down the prices, which I'm always happy about. But yeah, overall, I think the most hype ones here are the Vaal Caress and the Mageblood card. Vaal Caress, I will always be using these doing leveling. It's just really cool to have Perma Onslaught no matter what. Other than that, I'm really looking forward to getting a +4 corruption on this, for example, and then having +9 in total. There'll be some very interesting things, for example, getting a Vaal Grace in here, then giving it like +5 or +7 or +9, depending on the corruption. For example, for an armor stacker, that is a lot of armor with iron reflexes. And I have some more ideas that maybe I'm going to share in time, but definitely this is going to be a leveling staple, which I'm really happy about. This will spawn a lot of builds. Maybe it's really good for the Lightning Warp build that I made a while ago. It might maybe push Flame Dash Ignite or stuff like Frost Blink Ignite more into the mainstream, let's say meme mainstream. Overall, Divination cards, Mageblood card is cool, but overall, Divination cards are not that hype to me. Let's wait for a little bit more, but overall, in 2 days is the live reveal of the new league, so that's going to be really interesting. I don't know if I'm going to make another video, depends on how much they put out. But yeah, see ya. But that's it for the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, subscribe. As always, a huge shout out to my Twitch subscribers and my Patreons. I couldn't do videos like this without you. Thank you so much for the support. And yeah, these gloves are kind of interesting. I'm just sitting in POB and kind of figuring out what would really want +9, right? Because you can't double corrupt it. And I can't really figure it out just yet, but there's a few things that could just be crazy. It's not just like you can put 1 Vaal gem in here, right? You could theoretically put 4 in. You don't have to have any support. So I'm kind of thinking about that right now. It makes me kind of hype, but more than anything, I would really like to see what happens with the patch. I want to see the reveal. But yeah, until then, since I still don't have a slogan, see you next time.